We were seeing the reactions of urea cycle in part 1. Now in part 2, we will be seeing the disorders of the urea cycle as well as the treatment. Okay, so let's start with that. So in disorders of urea cycle, so we'll just draw the cycle, the reactions of the cycle, and then we'll discuss. Okay, now the carbon dioxide plus ammonia is there, is converted into carbamyl phosphate. That we have the enzyme CPS1. If there is defect in the CPS1, that is the carbamyl phosphate 1, then we get the condition called as hyperammonemia type 1. Hyperammonemia type 1. Okay, and if there is defect in the OTC, that is ornithine transcarbamylase, then you get a defect called as hyperammonemia type 2. Understand? Hyperammonemia type 2. Next, if there is a defect in citrulline, the conversion of citrulline coming to the mitochondria and joining with the aspartate, that we have learned. Okay, so if there is a defect in the arginosuccinate synthetase, that is the enzyme, then you get a condition called as citrullinemia type 1. Why citrullinemia type 1? Listen carefully. If there is a defect in the aspartate arginosuccinate synthetase, then there will be more amount of citrulline. Understand? If there is more amount of citrulline, then you can call it as citrullinemia type 1. Understand? Okay. Now if there is a defect in the arginosuccinate lyase, okay, then who will increase, sir? Listen carefully. Our arginosuccinate will be increasing. Instead we call it as arginosuccinic aciduria. Arginosuccinic aciduria. If there is a defect in the enzyme arginase, okay, if there is defect in the enzyme arginase, then we get a condition arginemia. Okay, so these are the defects or disorders you can see, and we have two important transport disorders. That is, if you have defect in the ornithine transporter, okay, if there is a defect in the ornithine transporter, very important, that is HHH syndrome. We will be discussing later. So just remember, if there is a defect in the ornithine transporter, then we call it as HHH syndrome. Very simple. Okay, now if there is a defect in the, we have discussed already, that is the aspartate or the glutamate transporter. Why? Because the aspartate has to come from mitochondria to cytoplasm, right? If there is a defect in that transport, then our aspartate will not be coming to the cytoplasm. Then you get a condition. Of course, our citrulline will be increasing, okay, but then we call it as citrullinemia type 2. Remember, if there is a defect in the enzyme arginosuccinate synthetase, then we call it as citrullinemia type 1. If there is a transporter defect, mainly that is the aspartate transporter is defective, then we call it as citrullinemia type 2. Understand? Okay. Now I will be discussing about the specific disorders in detail. Okay, that is hyperammonemia as well as the plasma glutamine. What is the correlation between them? Very simple. Listen. See, when you have ammonia, okay, when you have ammonia, then there will be presence of glutamate where in glutamine. Listen carefully. When there is increase in the ammonia, then of course plasma glutamine will be increased. So why is there is increase in ammonia, especially in hyperammonemia, whether it is type 1 or type 2? Very simple. Listen, look at the table, the cycle carefully. So only when the carbon dioxide has to combine with the ammonia, okay, so when there is defective in such two enzymes, then our ammonia will be increased. Now let me ask you a question. When I differentiate between the hyperammonemia type 1 hyperammonemia type 2, in which type there will be increase in the ammonia? The answer is very simple. So we have the ammonia at the first step, right? So when there is a defect in the CPS1, of course our ammonia is going to stay and it is going to increase in such a way that in type 1 the ammonia is increased than type 2. This I want everyone to understand. Okay, in type 1 our ammonia is going to be increased, and in type 2 there will be comparatively less. As well as if our ammonia is increasing, what will happen to plasma glutamine cell? Of course it is going to increase. This is the basic concept. So you already know, if the ammonia is increasing, our plasma glutamine will be increased, right? So in type 1 or type 2, who is going to increase? More amount of ammonia, right? In type 1, if ammonia is increased, what will happen to plasma glutamine cell? It will be increased. Where? In type 1. Very simple. You got the concept? Okay. Now we will be moving on with type 2 hyperammonemia. So in type 2 hyperammonemia, who is defective, sir? Which enzyme is defective? OTC, right? Ornithine transcarbamylase. Okay. Now the defective enzyme is ornithine transcarbamylase. But very important question they are asking you in exams, that is, here the uracil is released where? In type 2 hyperammonemia. Now I am asking a question, why uracil is released in type 2 hyperammonemia? The concept is very simple. Listen here. So you know the concept, that is the ammonia plus carbon dioxide, we have the carbamyl phosphate, and then the ornithine, okay, that is the ornithine will be converted into citrulline, right? Okay, now if you don't have, okay, now this carbamyl phosphate, due to defective enzyme, the carbamyl phosphate is going to increase in such a way that the carbamyl phosphate will come out to the cytoplasm. So in normal conditions, citrulline has to come out to the cytoplasm. But due to the defective enzyme in OTC, ornithine transcarbamylase, in type 2 hyperammonemia, who is coming out of the cytoplasm? Carbamyl phosphate. If carbamyl phosphate comes out of the cytoplasm, it is entering to what synthesis? Pyrimidine synthesis, very important. Okay, if carbamyl phosphate is coming out of the cytoplasm, it is moving to pyrimidine synthesis. It's the way where our orate, that is, I call it as orotic acid, is being increased. Okay, so orotic acid is released, okay, in more amount in urine also, and that is converted into uracil, UMP, which gives increase in the pyrimidines. What are the pyrimidines? Thiophene and serosine mainly, okay, that will come out, okay. So what I am saying, our carbamyl phosphate is entering to pyrimidine synthesis. It's the way where there is more amount of orotic acid, okay. If there is more amount of orotic acid, you can say there is increase in the pyrimidines also. Understand? The concept is very simple, right? So we saw there is more amount of orotic acid as well as there is more amount of uracil. Okay, pyrimidines. Okay. Now, what are the characteristic feature of type 2 hyperammonemia? Listen carefully, very important. Now, the X-linked partially dominant, which means only the males are affected. In type 2 hyperammonemia, the males are alone affected, that is X-linked partially dominant. Understand? Okay. So since you have increase in the orotic acid, we have discussed, okay, there is increase in the orotic acid secretion, as well as most common urea cycle disorder is type 2 hyperammonemia, mainly 40%. Okay. Now we are having a condition called as trichorhexis nodosa. What is that, sir? There is mainly the hair will be tufted. Okay, you get a condition called as tufted hair. In which condition you get this? When there is, it is seen in the arginosuccinic aciduria, mainly here. Okay, they may ask you which enzyme is defective in trichorhexis nodosa. Which enzyme? Arginosuccinate lyase. Okay, lyase. So you have to remember the reactions of the urea cycle as well as this cycle thoroughly, so you can answer any questions in exams. Okay, fine, we go on with here. So you remember about trichorhexis nodosa, okay, tufted hair seen in arginosuccinic aciduria. Now very important syndrome, you call it as triple H syndrome. What is this triple H stands for? First H is hyperammonemia, second H is hyperornithinemia, and third H is homocitrullinuria. Let us repeat again. So triple H syndrome, hyperammonemia, hyperornithinuria, and homocitrullinuria. That is the triple H syndrome. Now, why this triple H syndrome occurs, we are going to see in each case. Okay, why it occurs here, here and here. So you already know there is a defective in the transporter, mainly the ornithine transporter. Now listen carefully. If the ornithine accumulates, so you already know there is defective in the ornithine transporter, there will be increase in the ornithine. So ornithine is going to accumulate, right? You get a condition called as hyperornithinemia. So first one is over, hyperornithinemia, right? Next, so ornithine is accumulating. If there is no ornithine, what happens? If there is no ornithine, then CP has nothing to combine with, right? So only if the ornithine comes, the carbamyl phosphate will bind and form citrulline. Now here ornithine is not there, then who will combine with carbamyl phosphate? No one, right? So your ammonia will increase, that will lead to hyperammonemia. So the second H is over. Next, very important, that is homocitrullinuria. How, sir? Listen carefully. Your carbamyl phosphate is going to combine with lysine. Okay. So if it combines with lysine, it forms a compound called as homocitrulline. Carbamyl phosphate is combining with lysine to form homocitrulline, and that's why when there is more amount of homocitrulline, you get a condition called as homocitrullinuria. Very simple. The concept is clear. So you get a condition homocitrullinuria. Lysine, okay, that is the carbamyl phosphate is going to combine with a compound called as lysine to form homocitrulline. Very simple, right? Next, last enzyme, arginase. So this is the last enzyme, I hope so, right? So arginemia, this is the condition. So it is the least hyperammonemia, sir. No, it is the least hyperammonemia because it is the last enzyme, right? So arginase will be the last enzyme, and it has got two isoforms, and due to this defect, the patient may come with you as progressive spastic diplegia and as well as scissoring of the gait. So in arginemia, it is the least hyperammonemia, so no, because it is the last enzyme, it has got two isoforms, and as well as the patient come with you at progressive spastic diplegia as well as scissoring of the gait. Okay. Now we will be discussing the clinical features as well as the investigation of the urea cycle. Okay. Now if you look at the clinical features, first important thing is encephalopathy. Okay, encephalopathy. And next important thing is the respiratory alkalosis. Why is it there is respiratory alkalosis? You already know there is increase in the ammonia, right? There is increase in the ammonia due to the enzyme defects. Okay, if there is increase in ammonia, what will happen to our body? Very simple. There will be hyperventilation, there will be tachypnea, and as well as there will be more amount of carbon dioxide washed out. Okay, so there will be respiratory alkalosis. They may ask you why the respiratory alkalosis occurs in the urea cycle defects. They are very simple: tachypnea as well as the carbon dioxide washout due to increase in the ammonia, right? And there will be hyperammonemia, you all know, right? Okay, next, the neonates. So what about neonates? Very simple. There will be feeding difficulty and there may be lethargy, there may be vomiting also. Okay, lethargy, vomiting, failure to thrive, convulsion as well as tachypnea. Okay, fine. So these are the clinical features of the urea cycle. Let us see how you are going to investigate. Okay, so when we talk about the blood pH level, you have either low pH, that is the acidosis, or high pH, that is the alkalosis. Now if you get an investigation like when there is low pH, that is acidosis, you consider it as organic aciduria. If there is high pH, that is alkalosis, then you should go further on to think about, yes, it is a urea cycle disorder. Okay, now I found out this is the urea cycle disorder. So specifically I want to know which enzyme is defective. For that I do a blood specific amino acid elevation. What is this blood specific amino acid elevation? So we are going to talk about the enzymes now. When there is increase in the arginosuccinate, yes, you all know it is the arginosuccinate aciduria. Similarly, when there is increase in the citrulline, then there is citrullinemia. And when there is increase in the ornithine, then it is triple H syndrome we have discussed. And there is increase in the arginine, yes, it is arginemia. Okay, and also we have discussed about the orotic acid elevation. If there is orotic acid elevation in patients, mainly we take the sample of blood as well as the urine or the urine. Okay, so if it is positive, then you consider type 2 HA. If it is negative, then it is type 1 HA. That is the hyperammonemia. Okay, type 2 and type 1. Now listen carefully. What will be the treatment of the for the urea cycle disorder? Very simple. First line and second line. First line, you must always give arginine. First is you must give arginine. Why is we are giving arginine? Very important. It is the essential amino acid. First important point. Okay. So arginine, it is the essential amino acid, and also it provides. Okay. It provides ornithine. It provides you ornithine. Okay. And also very important. We have discussed beginning of the reaction of the urea cycle, mainly the NAG, N-acetyl glutamate. Okay, so it is the positive regulator for the N-acetyl glutamate synthase. If there is increase in the NAG, then our CPS1, which is the first enzyme in the urea cycle, will be increased. Understand this? Will be positive. Very simple. Okay, that is the first line treatment for urea cycle disorder. So what is the second line, sir? Very simple. What will be the contraindication for the arginine? If there is arginine defect, then you must not give arginine. If there is arginase enzyme defect, then you must not give arginine. Understand? Okay. Now what is the second line defense? Very important, acylation therapy. Okay, in acylation therapy we give two important things. What is this? Sodium benzoate as well as phenyl butyrate will be given. Now what will happen to the body, sir? Listen carefully. When phenyl butyrate is given to the patient, it is metabolized as phenyl acetate. The most important thing for phenyl butyrate is it acts as scavenging for the ammonia. So you already know in urea cycle disorder there is a more amount of ammonia. If there is more amount of ammonia, it is transferred as glutamine. We have discussed already. If that glutamine goes and relate with the phenyl acetate, it's going to form phenyl acetyl glutamine, which is excreted in the urine. Very simple. You got the concept. So there is more amount of ammonia, which is considered as there is more amount of the glutamine, right? Then that glutamine will go and act in the phenyl acetate, converted into phenyl acetyl glutamine, which is excreted in the urine. Very simple. What is the other thing they are giving, ma? There is sodium benzoate. So what will happen to sodium benzoate? Same thing, right? So when there is more amount of ammonia transferred as glutamine, and that is going to form benzoyl glycine. Same reaction is going to take place. Okay, so this is all about the urea cycle reactions as well as disorder. Hope you liked it. Like, subscribe, and have a nice day. Thank you.